Well, welcome to the Missouri Southern State University City Council Candidate Forum. I'm Lisa Oligas. I'll be your host this evening. With help from our public policy students, we are asking questions of our council candidates in this forum. We will begin with a brief introduction. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves and share their goals for council. Then we will ask questions, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. When the time is up, you will hear a beep over the sound system. So, 2 of our 8 candidates are running unopposed, while the other 6 are vying for general seats on the council, which are 4-year terms. Let's begin our introductions with Josh Detar, our current council member running for re-election. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Lisa. My name is Josh Detar. I am Joplin born and raised, been here my whole life. I am 50 years old now. That's a little harder to say than I thought it would be, but I have 3 kids, married for 20 years this May. Graduated from Joplin High School, graduated from Missouri Southern. Like Lisa said, currently on the council as Mayor Pro Tem. Before that, I was on numerous committees with the school district and with the city, and some nonprofits along the way as well. That's really just a brief introduction.
All right, thank you, Josh. Next up is Natasha Clue-Michael. Tell us about yourself and why you are running.
Hi, my name is Natasha Clue-Michael. I moved here in 2008 to pursue cosmetology school. I have since got my barber crossover license and became my own boss. I have been a commissioner on the Planning and Zoning Board since July of 2024, where I've been serving the city. I was prompted to join that board after I ran for council in 2024 and just barely missed it. So I'm back again, round 2. I would love for you to vote for me. My goal is to make sure that all the people in Joplin feel represented, and I would love to be the voice of Joplin for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Natasha. Our next candidate is Brian Cowles. Why do you want to serve?
Hello, my name is Brian Cowles. I was born and raised in St. Louis, spent 25 years in sales and marketing across the country. When COVID hit, I decided to move to Joplin. It was more affordable than where I was at. During that time, I ended up going back to school to earn my undergrad in international and political affairs at MSSU. I'm currently working towards my master's in public administration with the University of Missouri. During the time at MSSU, I did an internship with the city manager's office, so I was able to see how the city is efficiently working for the people, and I've seen some areas that could be improved. I strive with my son here in Joplin to have a safer, more affordable city that grows responsibly.
All right, thank you, Brian. Now we go to Jamie Hammond. Tell us about you and why you want to be on the council. Your mic on?
Sorry, you didn't turn it on.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hammond. I moved to Joplin 7 years ago for a career opportunity in social work with the state of Oklahoma. As soon as I got here, I noticed that there were some things in Joplin that I didn't see in my little country town that I grew up in. So I got into houseless work and trying to help them find a pathway off the street. So currently I organize with Food Not Bombs. We've been doing that for 5 years. I also work with the NAS. So I'm really passionate about that, but I ran because I want to represent the people. I want to listen to the people, and I want the city to collaborate, and I just want us to work together and set the standard.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Next is Mary Price. Mary, please share your experience and goals for council.
My name is Mary Price, and I'm running for the Joplin City Council because I want to be a part of the team that brings transparency, accountability, and trust back into our community. Over the past 4 years, I've spoke at many council meetings, asked questions, and I didn't really get the answers answered, so I decided that if I ran, maybe I could get some of my concerns answered, and I could help support the citizens of Joplin.
All right, Thank you, Mary. Our next candidate is Matthew Woolsey. Tell us why you're running.
Hi, my name is Matthew Woolsey, and I'm running for city council because I've seen the council willingly ignore the objective will of the people. They, in many situations, have outright ignored some of the largest groups of people in this city, probably for money, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm here to listen to the people, give them what they want because they run their lives and they know what's best for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Our next candidate is running unopposed for Zone 1, Rob O'Brien. Tell us why you want to serve.
Thank you, Lisa. My name is Rob O'Brien. My wife and I moved here 31 years ago when I took the job as president of the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce. Our daughter grew up here. It was a great community for our family. It's still a great community for my wife and I. And I had the privilege during my 23 years at the Chamber of leading economic development, both on helping companies expand as well as attracting new companies to this area. Why I'm running, I still give back to the community through the Proposition Action Oversight Committee, the Airport Board, involved in several social service agencies. But I believe we have a lot of potential if we all work together, and that involves listening to all 53,000 people in the city and finding consensus for us all to move forward together, both on the foundation things like public safety as well as community amenities.
All right, thank you, Rob. Our final candidate is also running unopposed. Eli Moran is running in Zone 4. Tell us about yourself and why you're running.
Hi, my name is Eli Moran. I currently serve as the Chief Strategy Officer for Lafayette House in Joplin. We're a nonprofit that serves victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and substance use disorders. I'm involved in various organizations and serve on a few boards, but the one that I currently serve on that represents the city is the Joplin Citizens Advisory Committee for the Joplin Police Department. I'm working with the administration there. And that has really given me firsthand experience on some of the challenges that public safety has faced. Personally, I am a Joplinite, lifelong, 33 years. I have a wife and 2 kids, 11 and 7, in the Joplin school system. And my biggest goal for the city is to help continue to advance and bring a place where families want to live and grow.
All right, thank you, Eli. All right, well, we will thank you all for your introductions. Let's get to the questions. You get 2 minutes to answer. And the first question is addressing homelessness. Since the Charity Global Study in 2024, the City of Joplin, with community partners, has made some progress. They've developed multifamily development, created a regional commission on homelessness, funded and hired a director of homelessness response who will start in April, named Economic Security Corporation the lead for coordinated entry, which it calls Housing Connect. And the city passed an ordinance against the intentional transport of homeless individuals from other communities to the city. So we have a 2-part question. What do you think of the current actions and policies? And what skills and initiatives would you bring to help those struggling with homelessness? We'll begin on this end with Josh Tatar.
Thank you, Lisa. Kind of go back a little bit. Like you said, we have formed the council in the last 4 years, has formed the coalition. When I ran 4 years ago, there wasn't a lot of communication between the organizations on what services were provided for those that were in need. And so I'm happy with what we've been able to do. I'm glad that we've been able to hire the new director, and I'm excited to see them get to work implementing some of those strategies. I believe that person is going to come in and actually start defining what some of those strategies look like in order to help some of our unhoused. That's really, I've been working on it for 4 years, Lisa, and finally to see it come to fruition is exciting. I know there's going to be some growing pains and some things that we'll have to work through, but that's my support, is just to continue to support that coalition, to continue to do what we can as a city. I don't think it's the city's responsibility to be running that coalition, but just to be a good partner and provide support where we can in order to help those that need it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Josh. Natasha, your answer.
I do think that the city has done a good job trying to address the issues at hand. When I was looking at some of the statistics and some of the things that the city has been able to accomplish in the last few years, I was excited to see those numbers increase. I would also like to say that with the help of all of the organizations working together, I would like to see more affordable housing implemented. Something that I think that we could do better in the future is make sure that we look locally to the resources that are helping those individuals, like the Economic Security, the coalition, the Homeless Coalition, and things like that. So I think if it were up to me, I would have voted for the $90,000 study that we had done on the homelessness and put that towards affordable housing here in our city instead of hiring consultants outside of our state to come tell us things that we could have known for free if we would have consulted the businesses and the organizations that were already working with those individuals here in town. So what I would like to do moving forward is make sure that I'm a voice for the people. I talk with people all day, every day. I'm a very active listener, and people do like to tell me things that they would like to see done. So I would like to take those active listening skills moving forward and try to make sure that we use the funds properly and make sure that they stay here locally.
Thank you, Natasha. Brian Cowles.
Yes, I spent some time prepping for this forum, and I've watched probably 6 previous forums, and these have been the same topics for a very long time. So I'm not quite sure that we are really trying to figure out a cure or a remedy for the homeless situation as it is getting worse. The numbers of homeless people, whether it be people that want to live on the street, folks that may be addicted to drugs or have some mental illness that prevents them from independently living in society. I think we need to triage individuals on a person-by-person basis to figure out what is keeping them on the streets. We have nonprofits in this town that do a really good job. But I think they could work more in sync with individuals and in addressing their needs. I don't think the Charity report should have been the end-all, be-all solution to the homeless problem. I believe that one of the things that came out of it was a regional homeless commission, which is a great idea. But I would like to look into that commission to be sure that we have people that are experienced in homelessness or drug addiction or mental illness in some capacity to make sure that we're making the right decisions based on the folks that are needing service. That's it.
Thank you, Brian. Jamie Hammond.
So last night I got to go to a graduation. I got to see 2 people who I've watched on the streets for 5 years get sober, graduate, and move in. They're moving to Wisconsin to go into ministry. So there are organizations in this town with success rates. I think the issue is they're all working independently, and I think that what the city can do is help unite them and work together. Because if these people want to do this work, why not let them? I mean, there are churches, there are nonprofits, there are 501c3s, there are groups with just doing it just because they want to. And if we can unite all those groups and let them work on it, I think we would see greater success than everyone dividedly trying to work on it, fighting each other in the same space. We need to just all sit at the same table, and I hope that the Regional Homeless Coalition, I hope that that's what that is. I hope that it brings us all to the same table, and we can work together, because it's a better city when we're taking care of everybody. And I think that the city council needs to do it. I don't think that they need to solve homelessness, but I do think that they need to be the support to bring everyone together and want to work on it. we have to forge a path forward. These are people, these are our neighbors, and we've got to do something about it.
Okay. Jamie, thank you. Mary Price.
I'm not really sure what the remedy is, but I'm going to go back to we need to continue to research who are bringing the homeless into Joplin. As I think I've said previously, I've watched 17 people be dropped off 17 homeless people be dropped off a Greyhound bus within the last 5 weeks. And I think skills to bring is the ability to listen, to provide ideas. I think a lot of us have said we have a lot of nonprofits here in town, which I commend every single one of them. But do we have too many? Because if we have 40 of them, and each of them takes $3,000 a month to keep their doors open, that's $120,000 that's not being used for the problem at hand. So I think if it's right, if we can bring them all together and we could pool the resources, maybe we can get a handle on homelessness.
Thank you, Mary. Matthew.
I'll start this off by saying I am nowhere near an expert in homelessness. I have only been on this earth for 21 years. There are people who are in this city who have done it for longer than I've been alive. They're the ones who I'm going to turn to for this solution. But I do believe that the city should have a direct hand in it. We should oversee and unite these groups of individuals who wish to see this problem solved, because with the correct funding and the correct guidance, we can reach a solution in this city, especially if we can implement clear and transparent funding for this solution for homelessness. Together, we can solve it. We can solve it, no problem. We can get it done.
Are you saying city funding?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Of course, city funding. This is a problem that affects every single person here. Most of us are one bad day away from being homeless ourselves. And I'd like a safety net that can catch every single one of the citizens of Joplin. And just to say, 17 homeless people in 5 weeks, that's about 3.4 a week. That's not very many.
That was one day.
Thank you, Matthew Woolsey. Rob O'Brien, tell us what you think.
Well, I think everyone so far has touched on the dilemma. And, you know, when I came here 30-plus years ago, homelessness was an issue. It is one that has been worked on by many organizations and many people with big hearts in this community who are trying to figure out how we can best serve those in need. And not just those who are unhoused, but also those people who are at the cusp. As Matthew mentioned, you know, that one day away, they live in poverty. They could fall into being unhoused within a day, and it's not extravagant to say that. It is really true. So one of the things that, you know, the city I think has taken good steps so far. The Homeless Coalition is a good step, but we can't leave it all on them. I think it's very important for the council to make sure that we continue to oversee that, to make sure that we're addressing that. I like the fact that people have talked about creating collaboration and bringing people together. I would tend to say a coalition of the willing, because we have so many organizations, and I've visited with several in the last few weeks, that are working on this. But some of them have a very narrow mission. Whether they want to be part of a collaboration or not, I don't know. I think you ask everyone. But, you know, if those people who say, yes, we want to move forward and we want to move forward together, we want to know how to leverage each other's resources and talent and really find a way to help address those who are unhoused, then I say the city supports those and we move ahead.
All right. Thank you, Rob O'Brien. And our final candidate, Eli Moran.
Yeah, so this is a very complex issue, and it's not unique to Joplin, but I want to be very sensitive when I say at Lafayette House, there's a federal statute that we abide by for homelessness, that victims of domestic violence and sexual assault when they flee that violent situation, are automatically categorized as homeless. So we have a seat at that table for the Homeless Coalition. We are also involved in what is called the COC, the Continuum of Care, that do various touch points and data collection, which, as the report that was generated by the city with the consultants back in 2024 noted, is incredibly difficult to accurately represent the homeless situation that we currently have in the city. The other thing that I want to kind of be mindful of, and I said this at the Chamber Forum, is a lot of the services that we provide with our nonprofit partners are all clustered downtown. And that is incredibly difficult for, one, the individuals that are impacted by this, because we pride ourselves at Lafayette House with confidentiality. We believe that everybody deserves privacy and respect and dignity. And so when we have homeless people running around or being served publicly, it's very difficult to give them that privacy. So with all of the organizations clustered downtown, it creates a system that is inefficient and ineffective. So if we're able to, again, be able to pool our resources together, work with the nonprofits, like everyone has mentioned, that are experts in it. I think of Salvation Army, I think of Souls Harbor, I think of Lafayette House is a partner in that group. But there are multiple other organizations that are well versed in this that we just need to continue moving forward. The city can be a great partner and coordinator. Economic security is the other one I was thinking of. But we need to work with those that are in it day to day, as opposed to trying to be the end all for everybody.
All right, thank you, Eli. Moving on to our next question, your view of representation. Now, at recent city council meetings and on social media, some citizens contend their concerns are being ignored or not represented by council. So a multi-part question. How do you define the role of a city council member? As a delegate reflecting constituent opinions, or a trustee exercising independent judgment? And how do you approach decisions where public opinion is divided or where your personal views differ from some of your constituents? Begin with Natasha.
Thank you. So I would say that it's a joint effort. So I would say that it would be both. When you're elected to city council, you do your best to listen to your constituents, and when the constituents are divided, it then falls on you to make those decisions. I like to make sure that I'm listening to the people. That is one of the reasons why I also am running for city council, is I do believe that sometimes people, and even the candidates here have said so themselves, that they have addressed council before. They don't feel like that their questions have been answered. And actually the new charter rule states that the council members don't actually have to answer your questions. So I would like to make sure that when I'm on council that I do my best to follow up with the citizens to make sure that their questions feel like they're getting answered, because that is one of the biggest issues. I would like to say that I know that it is hard to be a council person, because you do want to make sure that you are doing what is best for the citizens, and you do have to put your own opinion aside with that sometimes. So the best thing to do is make sure that you've listened to all the constituents, and then you have to do your own research to make sure that you can make that decision once the people have elected you to do so.
Thank you, Natasha. Brian Cowles.
Citizens vote to put their city council together on this dais, and they expect a city council member to listen to what they have to say, their input, opinions of things that could be maybe done a little bit better or differently. And as far as public opinion being divided, that's something that we deal with all the time. So when you are making a decision based on the city, I think it's very important to take into account how is this going to affect our future generations, but not forget the short-term effects of whatever decision that you would make. I think it's vitally important that the 9 people that sit up here that are making decisions based on the city work together and come to a solid agreement on what should be done and how a particular issue should be handled moving forward. There will be some that disagree, and that's okay. That means this is a healthy city council. But again, I feel that the city relies on us to make decisions based on them for the good of their family, the good of their business, the good of their future, and how will it affect them on the short term and what happens in the future.
Thank you, Brian. Jamie?
So I would define a city council member as a civil servant. We sign up to serve the people. That is what we sign up for. It's not really a paid position. So being a civil servant means that we have to listen to what the people say, consider what the people want. I don't think this is about me. This is not my opinion or what I want. This is what you want. Because if I'm a civil servant and I'm serving you, it's about you, it's not about me. And as to division, when we are divided and there is no clear path either way, I think at that point we have to put it on the ballot for the people to vote. Like, I think that if you're stuck 50-50 and you really can't make a decision and the data's split right down the middle and the facts are split right down the middle, you need to give the vote to the people, because this is their city, this is their government. They need to decide what's best for them. We can't always decide what's best for them. We can do our best to try to do most of the deciding based on what we know and what we hear, but there is going to be times where we have to put things to the people and we have to let them decide what they want.
Okay, thank you, Jamie Hammond. Mary Price, you're next.
City council members are elected by the people. So we're here to serve each and every person there. And none of us are perfect, we're all human. And I think we need to be able to learn to separate the personal emotions to the issue at hand. And sometimes it's a hard decision to make, but if we have all the documents before us, we can't always table everything. We can't always put everything to the people. That's why we're elected to sit up here, is to make that decision based on the research that's been done, the resources that we've been given. So I think social media is not a place to air it. Coming up here to speak is. I spoke for 4 years. Yes, my questions were not answered at times, but then there's times that they can't answer them because maybe the city council doesn't have the answer for me. They can be instructed to answer the question at a later date, and maybe we can have a little more of that communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Price. Matthew Woolsey.
I like a lot of what Jamie said there. We are civil servants when we're up here in every way, shape, and form. I would describe a city councilor as a mouth to the legislative body of the city, and the constituency being the brain. You guys do the thinking, not me. It is what you want because you know what's best for you. I can't live your life for you. And so when it comes to moments of split constituency, you've got to listen, you've got to think carefully, and you've got to give this to the people. I know it's within my ability to give you a vote in this. It's not always my final decision. I'm not some tyrant that gets to sit up here and do as they please. I believe we need to be held accountable when we sit upon these seats, which is why, like what Natasha said, they're not required to answer questions in the city council, and I believe that we should. I believe that we should be able to review the charter and have some accountability be held towards us. That's all.
Thank you, Matthew. Rob O'Brien.
Thank you, Lisa. I start with the perspective, and it's been mentioned by a couple of the other candidates, but my perspective is this is a citizens' council. We are all citizens of Joplin who are running for this office. The current sitting council are all citizens of Joplin. So any decisions that are made by the council are impacting us as well as citizens of the community. So that puts a burden to make sure that we're not just representing ourselves. Yes, we say, well, this is going to impact us, but how's it going to impact the other 53,000 people who live here. And the nice thing about having 9 members here is we all come from different walks of life. We all have our circles. I believe part of this is there's so much that's just routine business for the council. And so when major issues come up, as we have seen, people come forward and they speak, and that's great. But I think a lot of that could be day-to-day communication in the context of, council members need to be accessible, just routine. I go out to eat dinner, like many people. I don't necessarily want to discuss council business, but if somebody says, hey, I have an issue to discuss, here's my number, please call me, let's talk about it. You have to be able to talk to the citizens about what's on their mind at any time that it's on their mind. And that's the only way you build transparency and trust in the system overall. And I would add on behalf of Eli as well, putting him on the spot. But, interestingly, we're running for zone seats. We have a geographic part of the city, and yet everyone in the city gets to vote for us as well. So we have to represent fairly all 53,000 people in the city.
Thank you, Rob. Eli Moran.
Well, how do you follow that? That's a great answer. What I would define as a city councilor is a servant to and representative of the people. And I think that is very important. When it comes to approaching decisions, data, and context, you've got to know what the goal is or the objective is, what you're moving towards, and some historical information. So either you are successful in your endeavors or that you do not repeat the past. The other thing that comes to my mind is when solving tough decisions, something that I believe is incredibly important is that it's me and you versus the problem, not me versus you. Collaboration is key. I dare say that I do not like the word compromise because I believe that means somebody is losing at that point. Somebody is losing something, but collaboration is incredibly important. But the main question that should lead any counselor or any civil servant is, how does this impact the citizens? Every decision that we make at the top will trickle down to the citizens at some point in some form or fashion. And how does that happen? And are we representing them to the best of our ability? The last thing I'll end on is that a lot of this stems from communication. The more clear communication you have, the less uncertainty and anxiety things bring, and which is what a lot of this stems from. So that's what I hope to do, is have more transparent communication.
All right. Your view of representation, Josh Titar.
Our job as council people is we've got to be able to get all the information, whether it's an easy decision like Rob was talking about, some of the more mundane things that we talk about on a pretty routine basis, and then some of the more difficult decisions that we have to make. And a lot of it's about us getting all the information, discerning that information, and making the best decision for the community as a whole, how that's going to affect us today, how it's going to affect us 10, 15, 30 years from now. In my time, my 4 years since I've been up here, my phone number is on the site. People call me. I get emails. Spend a lot of time talking with people, meeting for coffee, doing all those things. I think it's important. We got to be accessible, and people have to know that they can reach out to you if they have questions or if they have concerns. And sometimes it's just about talking through that with that person and letting them kind of get all the information. And they're generally pretty good with it after that point. But ultimately, it comes down to we were elected to do a job, and our job is making those decisions. But our responsibility is to make sure that we're communicating with the citizens, we're communicating with the stakeholders, we're communicating with staff to find out what it is where they're coming from in order to, how's this project going to affect us? How's it going to make us better? Right? Because if it's not going to make us better, we shouldn't do it. But how is this going to affect us in the long term? How's it going to, can it hurt us in the short term? A lot of different factors, but we've got to be willing to dig in. We've got to be willing to do the work, and we've got to be willing to make those hard decisions when it's time to make that decision. Thank
you, Josh. All right, now we'll move on to our next question about development and growth. Joplin is poised to grow with the new movie theater, B&B Complex. There have been new apartments. Prospect Village is coming at the southeast corner of 20th and Range Line. Mitiera is a new industrial park development north of I-44 and Prigmore. So, many opponents to the data center cited environmental concerns and use of water and electricity. According to Missouri American Water, some industries in our industrial park now use up to 1 million gallons a day. Would you apply the same scrutiny to new industries that was applied to the issue of the data center? And what would you do to ensure the city grows responsibly? We will start this question with Brian Cowles.
To answer that question, yes. The data center, not to bring this up again, but it's a proposed data center. The developer can put any industry out there that he wants, and without having it annexed or rezoned, it could have been opened up with no oversight, no regulation, dog food plant, any type of plant. So it's very important that that we make decisions based on, again, the future of Joplin. And these are exciting things that you brought up, the movie theater, the apartments and things like that, but we can build apartments over and over again, but if the rent is unaffordable, they're gonna sit empty. I think one of the most beautiful things that I've heard from Joplin is the down payment assistance plan for individuals, in the hopes, in my opinion, that these folks that are unable to get a mortgage or their own home, it gives them an opportunity to do so, gets them out of apartments, and maybe will bring down rent, in the area, because that's what's needed. But we definitely need worker housing. We need some housing. We need to build these things responsibly because we want to bring industry in. If we don't have things that they can do, they're not going to build here. They're not going to expand their businesses here. So we have to do that, but we also have to keep in mind of our small businesses too, because we don't want to take away from them.
Thank you, Brian. Jamie Hammond.
So one of the things I committed to when I started running was environmental accountability. I'm from the country. I love nature. I love being outside. I like animals, and I didn't like the thought of putting something inside Joplin that was going to use up water when we're already in a shortage, drive up our electrical prices, and so we have to look at how many jobs does this offer? Can we do it ethically? And how will it affect the people? You have to think about it from beginning to end before you make a decision just to move a company in. Yes, I'm not against industrial businesses. I worked at a chicken factory for 5 years. I'm not against industrial businesses, but we do have to make sure that what we're doing in the city is good for the people, offers them jobs. That's what we need. We need, people need work and affordable housing, and that's, what they need to move here and to grow. So those things are important, but I will, if elected, be working with Joplin Sustainable Technology Alliance and making sure that moving forward that we're considering being ethical, because, in 50 years, we want Joplin to exist for our grandchildren. So I'm committed to that.
Thank you, Jamie. Mary Price.
As far as the growth and development, we need that in order for our community to grow. The movie theater is great. The new bike park is amazing. It's going to bring in more revenue to our city. Having the apartments available. Now, Prospect Village and the new sports complex that's coming in, I will scrutinize that myself a little bit because of the land that it's built on. I will want to make sure that the checks and balances and all the reports are followed through so the contamination isn't there that will affect our children, our grandchildren, and everyone in the future. Me, Tierra, I just recently heard about the 330 acres. I think it's great. I think we need to build Joplin, and if we build it responsibly, people will want to come. People will want to invest in Joplin.
Thank you, Mary. Matthew Woolsey.
Okay, now. I believe industry is a vital part of our community. It's the only way we get food in this country even. We need industry to survive in this nation. But it should be scrutinized because industry can come with a very, very high cost. And we live in one of the most beautiful areas in all of the United States, the Ozarks. And to see a downturn in the beauty of that sort of nature it hurts my heart. And so, yes, of course, I will put scrutiny to every single piece of industry within the city limits of Joplin. It's our duty to, because we have a need to protect our ecosystem. If we don't have lands to grow on, if we don't have rivers to fish, if we don't have water sources to replenish, we die. And I don't want to see that happen, because I want my children to live in as beautiful a place as I grew up in. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Rob O'Brien.
So working for the Chamber and leading economic development for 23 years in this community, I would tell you yes to your question about scrutiny, because it already happens in many respects. When we had projects that would come to us, those first stakeholder partners were the utilities. You talk to the utilities. Can they handle the load? Can they handle the load without increasing rates? Are they, flatly, are these the kind of things that they want to have when we talk about bringing companies in? The other thing is, what are the studies that have been done to make sure that they're controlling the environment? What's the sewer outflow? All of those things over the years were done, at the head end. And there were companies that, either I or the city, or in collaboration, basically said, we're not a good fit for you here. And you need to move on down the road. But to Matthew's comment, part of that effort, too, was to create the industrial parks. Before I came, we had the Joplin Webb City Park. My task was to create what became Crossroads Park. Since then, the IDA has now purchased 330 acres. But by having industrial parks, you have an area where you know exactly what's going to happen. You can build the utilities to handle that. You can set the zoning so it has the minimal impact possible on the environment. And you can bring good jobs to the community and higher paying jobs to the community by attracting companies that fit those needs and fit the parks.
Thank you, Rob. Eli Moran.
Ditto.
That was my phrase.
Yes, and I'm going to, follow in Rob's footsteps here. When we bring in large industry, I'm a conservationist at heart. I love to be outdoors with my kids, kayaking, fishing, the whole 9 yards. Anybody wants to go, hit me up. But when we have things like the EPA, the DNR, and those state and federal agencies that can come in and make sure that we are keeping the land that we're proposing to use safe for the children, that is incredibly important to me as well. When we are able to utilize land that is already close, right on the outskirts of our city, or already there without stretching our annexation or our land too far without the proper resources in place, like public safety, utilizing the space that we already have is incredibly important as well. Right now, what we're seeing, annexation is important, and I truly support it, but we have to have the resources to be able to stabilize that in the long run. Because right now we have certain beats with our police that are too far, and they have delayed response times because of it. Now, back to the economic development side, like Rob and many others were saying, if we can bring in industry that has higher paying jobs, that can help with the affordable housing situation as well. Because then more people would be able to afford the houses. They can partner with JHAP and other opportunities with the housing revitalization that the city offers. There's a lot of opportunity there, but Joplin is a very unique place, positioned right at I-44 and a border state, so we need to capitalize on that as well.
Thank you, Eli. Josh Ditar.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lisa. A lot of what they've talked about, I'll echo a lot of what everybody said up here, but growth for growth's sake is never the best route, right? Like we were talking about, you want to make sure that you've got infrastructure in place. You want to make sure that your public safety and first responders can respond to if there's an emergency in those areas. But I think that one of the things, when we talk about economic development, we have to talk about a quality of life. And so quality of life really is it's a chicken or the egg thing first, right? So we want to make sure that Joplin is attractive to not just the people that live here, but the people that we want to bring here, right? We need to have a vibrant downtown. We've got the Cornell complex, but would love to see Memorial Hall brought back to life and really sharing in that. We've got the trails, we've got the things that you've listed here, B&B movie theater. The sports, or the Momentum Bike Park is one of the greatest assets that we're going to have for years that are already attracting people into our area and kind of putting a little bit of giving us some attention in that business development area to bring business in. Crossroads North, as I believe it is now named by the JIDA, 330 acres, that infrastructure will need to be put in place so that we can start bringing in good businesses that are going to give us better paying jobs. But I really believe a lot of it starts with that quality of life. We've got to have all the amenities. We've got to have the parks. We've got to have the trails. We've got to have all the things that people want to come here, bring their families here, because it's not just about the jobs. It's about what they're going to do when they're here. So there's a lot to it, but we've got to do it in a responsible way. The zoning codes are there. We just redid those in the last 4 years since I've been on to help put some of those protections in place. And then the studies have to be done. So echo a lot of what everybody's talked about. But economic development comes to quality of life, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Natasha Klumichael.
Thank you. I am very pro economic development. As a current commissioner on the Planning and Zoning Board, I actually got to vote yes on that 330-acre annexation for the Crossroads North. I'm very excited about the amount of jobs that will be bringing into the city. And so I would like to go back to the fact that as a commissioner on the Planning and Zoning Board, the only annexation that I have ever voted no on was the most recent annexation and rezoning of Wildwood Ranch, that 600 acres where that proposed data center is supposed to go. One of the reasons I voted no on that, you mentioned the 1 million gallons of water that some of our current industrial businesses use. The proposed data center was used approximately would use up to 5 million gallons of water per day, which is the equivalent of 53,000 residents with only 10 jobs after construction. We were told it would create up to 250 during construction, but after construction, only 10. The difference with the industry that we have right now that may use up to 1 million gallons of water per day, it creates hundreds of jobs for the citizens of Joplin. So smart economic development is a necessary growth. Proper smart annexations are very much necessary. And then yes, those annexations do create a strain on our police and fire. When we annex more land, we do need to make sure that we have the proper amount of officers on duty to assist with that. So we do need to make sure that we are taking care of our public servants when we're growing the size of our city. Thank you.
All right, our next question deals with decorum. In recent meetings, citizens turned out to oppose city actions on a variety of topics, and at times meetings did become contentious. So put yourself in the mayor's shoes or as a council member under fire. What would you say or do to restore decorum, and how would you deal with groups wanting to be helpful that might clash with the city? Do you encourage them to work independently or encourage them to work with the city? And this time we will begin with Jamie Hammond.
Funny question to start with. Anyway, so decorum. I mean, I think that the people are held to decorum standards that the people sitting up here are not held to. But that's neither here nor there. But I don't know. So I think that if we're all up here and we're working together and we're doing what's best for the people, we probably wouldn't have decorum issues. But the decorum issues came out of the people not being listened to. So if we have to make, if I'm disagreeing with someone up here and it's going too long, I'm going to schedule a meeting with that person. I don't care how mad they are at me or, I want to meet with them. I want to find solid ground with them. I like to think that I'm like a reasonable person and I can probably talk out anything with anyone if I can just meet them in person and sit down. And so I think that there was a disconnect there between people weren't being heard and there was a little bit of a misleading issue, but in my personal circumstance, I got kicked out because someone was yelling at Carlin that they weren't going to vote for her again. And I just turned around and said, she's not running again. You don't have to yell at her. And I was kicked out. So, maybe, people talk during city council. You can't kick out everyone that talks, unfortunately. So I think we just need to have a little bit of compassion, and then we need to meet with people.
Mary Price.
I think I sent our mayor an email commending him and said I probably would have handled it different. And I think my question as far as the decorum to most during the few council meetings that we're talking about is we have to ask ourselves, if we were at our place of employment and we acted like that in a meeting, would we still have a job? I mean, we have rules. Clapping, stomping, that's not decorum. You can speak and stand up there and state your concerns. I have, and I've been very direct many, many times. But to stand up there and act that way and hoot and holler and snap fingers is not decorum. That is lack of respect for our community.
Thank you, Mary. Matthew Woolsey.
I think the issue of decorum, we first have to look at why was decorum being broken. It was because the city council wasn't listening to the people before them. There were hundreds of us there that night. And we started off quite cordial. And yes, of course, some of us hooted and hollered. It happens. It's not hurting my feelings. I doubt it hurt theirs. We're all adults here. What we need to look at really is what happened to get us there. And it was a constant escalation by city council. Threats to end the meeting early, threats to throw anybody out who spoke out at all. It was childish, tyrannical, and didn't need to happen the way it happened. And could have been solved by just listening to the people instead of being offended that they dare criticize you, because we need to be held accountable.
Thank you, Matthew. And Rob O'Brien.
Well, communication is a two-way street. And I think you do have to start with the perspective, from the council, that we're here to listen to the citizens. We ask for input. For many on the council, I know, reach out prior even to issues and talk to people to try and get their input before being in a public meeting and trying to make a decision, even when they know other people will come and speak. And I think that outreach is valuable. It's certainly, my mode is you reach out to people beforehand and have discussions. So you have at least some basis of understanding of what the issue is. The flip side is, again, this is a citizens' council. These people who sit up here are all citizens. And I think there is still an expectation when you come to address fellow citizens, you talk to fellow citizens like they're your citizens, your fellow citizens. And, to have a lack of decorum on both the council side and the audience side is not making any progress at all. That doesn't solve the issue. Eli touched on it earlier. The issue is not people sitting here versus people sitting out there. The issue is how do we find common ground so we can address the issue in here. And, I think it's very important, Mary touched on this, but I know it's important to try and visit with people, even afterwards, to say, okay, what else can we do? Are there ways we can work together to find a way to collaborate and at least attempt to solve the issue and not continue to butt heads over this, because that is not good for the citizens collectively here in Joplin.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Eli Moran.
Now I know Rob's looking at my paper, so I'm going to scoot it over a little bit. Great answers, great answers. The big thing for me is, again, me and you versus the problem, not me versus you, but also in the sense of seek to understand before trying to be understood kind of thing, where we do communicate with citizens. Everybody has their own individual groups, and for some of us, we have zones, although, as Rob stated earlier, even the zone candidates, we have to represent the city as a whole in its totality. So when we go out and we get to mingle with individuals at meetings, we get to mingle with individuals at dinner sometimes, or various lunch opportunities, whether they're impromptu or planned, I think it's incredibly important to not shy away from that, because again, everything boils down to a people problem. Whether it's a code or a law or a data issue or anything like that, people are the ones that designed them and created them. So people have to come together to continue to collaborate and communicate with one another to effectively advance things forward. So if we lose sight of the people, then we kind of lose sight of the issues at hand, and we can't really move forward collectively.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. Josh Ditar.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been there, done that. I think that first and foremost, when we want to talk about decorum is just a professional meeting. Like people have said, treat each other with respect, come up here. Just because you're loud, sometimes it doesn't mean that you're going to get heard. You actually probably get heard less the louder you talk. And so sometimes that decorum, just calming it down, being quieter, you actually get your message across a little bit better. We're not going to agree on everything. I mean, our job as council members is just to sit up here and listen, to take that information back, to make the best decision that we think is good for the community as a whole. But we get to sit up here and listen. You get to listen to a couple hundred people on some nights, and you don't always have a response. But sometimes you have to take it in, you have to soak it in, and you have to put your thoughts together after that. But I'm in favor. I'm never going to ask anybody not to speak up here. I think I'm in favor of listening to anybody, some ideas. You never know where they're going to come from. We had a kid that came and spoke to us about putting a crosswalk on 20th Street by the high school and didn't go to, I don't believe he lived in Joplin, but it was a great idea. Got up here and spoke, and we listened to him, and we put that in. But just the decorum is just something you have to have, and this is a professional meeting, and we represent the people, and we have to do that at a high level, and we have to do it with professionalism on our end, and I believe that I uphold that from my position every time. So, thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Natasha Klumichael.
Thank you. I do believe that when the council leads by example, it's easy for the citizens to follow suit. I would like to mention that I personally emailed all of the council members about the rezoning and the annexation of Wildwood Ranch, and I did not hear back from any of them. I did approach council during the January 20th and the February 17th meeting. I did speak during the annexation for 3 minutes during the meeting on February 17th, and I spoke my piece. I made sure to ask the citizens who there was in favor, who wasn't, and all but 10 people raised their hands. So moving on, I do know how easy it is to lose your cool. I did do that at the February 17th meeting. I felt like that the council was saying things that I, at that time, felt like was a lie. And so I did stand up knowing, making a statement that I would get kicked out of the council meeting. I stand by what I said because I think that the statement that I made was very important. During the planning and zoning meeting, the landowner stated that the proposed data center was contingent upon the annexation and the rezoning. Yes, I know we have one out there outside of city limits with no regulations, but this one, the landowner stated wanted in city limits. So therefore, yes, I know how hard it is to sometimes keep your cool, but I will remind you that I have been friendly with Mr. Ditar all evening, and Mr. Jackson actually came to my town hall, so I have no problem being friendly with the council members.
Thank you, Natasha. And Brian Cowles.
I look at city council as something that should be respected. Any type of office that represents the people, that the people vote, the citizens vote to have represent them is a very high office to me. I take this city council and the city council position very seriously. I can tell you what decorum is not. Decorum is not blaming the city council or the city on a death of a homeless person. It is not accusing city council members of bribes. It's not name calling, and it's not only representing one segment of the society. Because they weren't being told what they want to hear, they get loud. Council should be effective and not loud. I understand if you don't agree, if you're having trouble getting traction. There has been many opportunities for individuals to get together and have these discussions before it's on a public stage. I personally, before I decided to even get my signatures on my petition, reached out to some individuals with Hopeful Bites, because I think that they were doing a good thing until I realized that it was not just to feed these people that are hungry, but to take a platform on other issues that don't affect our city. I think we need to have respect for the citizens, and the citizens should have respect for council. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Our next question deals with affordable housing. Some of you have mentioned that already. City Planner Tom Walters says in 2021, the city conducted a housing study that did show we need affordable housing. That spurred multifamily development. The JHAP program, which provides down payment and closing costs to income-eligible households, exists. Walters says a simplified zoning code adopted in 2022 allows for greater density and more infill development. And Joplin's partnership in a home consortium has put funds to work in new construction with groups like Habitat for Humanity, which is moving now to add rental properties. Plus, the city is planning to restore an emergency home repair program with community development block grant funds. What do you see as the appropriate role of the city in supporting and encouraging development and preservation of affordable housing? And are there specific tools that you would recommend, such as zoning changes, incentives for developers, public-private partnerships, land use policies? Which do you believe the city should explore and expand? We'll start this one with Mary Price.
We definitely have issues with our homeless, our low housing and affordability. I'm happy to see the JHAP funds being shifted to be able to help repair homes. I would have liked to have still seen a little bit more of the most recent JHAP fundings, funds that were moved over to help buy some more homes used in the track that they needed, because there's still a lot of homes in that area that can use it. I think we need to partner with whoever we can, and we should open our hands and our coalitions to be able to build as many of the low-income homes that we can, and affordable homes, because Joplin needs it. I'm not an expert in this area, so I really would rely, probably if I'm sitting up here, on someone like, I'm going to throw the hat at him, Rob O'Brien, because this is kind of his specialty. But I would work to try to build as much and help as many as we possibly can.
Thank you, Mary. Matthew Woolsey.
I'm pretty sure everywhere in America has this issue. It is not unique to Joplin itself, and not many places have found the solution to affordable housing. It's hard in today's economy. Things keep getting more expensive, and houses keep being harder to live in. I believe we should start tackling this issue by studying. We should learn from our past mistakes, both in America and outside of it, what most effectively reduces the cost of housing anywhere across the world, why that happens, and how we can implement that here. It's very important to me that we're able to find housing, because you need housing to live. You can't survive out in the elements, especially not in the middle of Missouri, where it gets down to the below zeros in winter, and you start having people who die in the streets. And I can't stand to think that happening any longer, and this could be a step to solving that issue.
Thank you, Matthew. Rob O'Brien.
Well, first I want Eli to move his notes back over here so I can take a look at them. All of the things the city has been doing are positive things to address the issue. Mary mentioned also the home repair program using ARPA money. That's where JHAP funds came from. They came out of the ARPA program. And the city is also using some of those funds for home demolition. So being on the Building Board of Appeals, we do talk with people who say, you know what, I cannot restore this and I can't afford to tear it down. And if they are in the right census tract, then the city can take that on and clear that property for someone else to build. That helps the infill lots that help stabilize neighborhoods by getting newer housing into some of our oldest neighborhoods, in point of fact. But those funds run out. The ARPA money is gone after the end of this year. And so we need to start finding some other ways to address that. There are still some tools out there that Thomas Walters, whom you mentioned, he is aware of. We need to look at developing a loan fund for the low-mod neighborhoods. Then with some local funding and some loans, then you can qualify that to ask for additional federal funds, which can be more money. Some communities have found great success, to Matthew's comment, look outside. They've found great success in actually having plans already built and pre-approved and pre-permitted. So that helps small builders, that helps individuals, because you take one of those plans off the shelf to build on your lot. It saves a lot of money in terms of getting plans done, getting them permitted, and you're ready to go. You can just start in the process. There's a lot of other things, but again, we need to look outside and find ways to address the issue.
Thank you, Rob. Eli Moran.
Yeah, so as Rob mentioned, the ARPA funds run out at the end of this year. All funds are to be expended. And so my background is in fund development and grants for Lafayette House and other agencies previously. And so with federal funding and the current administration kind of dictating, reprioritizing different funding outlets and things of that nature, it's becoming incredibly sparse to find sustainable funding opportunities for local municipalities. So I know that's incredibly difficult. With that being said, there are some state contracts that might be readily available, depending on Missouri Housing Development Commission is the first one that comes to my mind. They have different funding sources that target different levels of income and things of that nature that we could potentially pursue and partner with. I believe with the City of Joplin's housing revitalization program, that's incredibly important to help knock down dilapidated structures and things of that nature, to help encourage and incentivize the developers to do that. But the program that I believe in the most is the JHAP program, because anybody can benefit from it from the first time when it's their first time home purchase or for low income. I believe that can help new families come in or recently created young families. I don't know appropriate way to say that, but new young families that would not have otherwise been able to afford a home. The JHAP program is, to me, the correct route for them that benefits the city, because I believe the previous contract was 10 years. They would have to remain in that residence for 10 years, and that continues to build the tax base and continues to allow them some stability in their own income and their housing stability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Josh Ditar.
Thank you. All of these things that are listed have been tremendously successful. The JHAP program, and of course JHAP, JHARP, and the demo program that were provided from the ARPA funds are going to be expended at the end of this year. But JHAP was so successful that we actually the state allowed us to take money from the demo portion and put that back into another JHAP. And that has been tremendously successful. The other thing that happened too was the repair portion of the dollars that came in to go and help fix up some of those dilapidated houses before they got to the Building Board of Appeals, to allow some of the lower income families and folks to be able to go and repair their houses and get them up to code. So that was a big deal. And I think those are some things that we've got to figure out ways, because everything just takes money, right? So we've got to figure out ways to find the money to be able to put into those programs. We also did the revitalization. The dilapidated houses that we had about $1 million, I think we put into to incentivize contractors to go in, and we knocked it down. They were able to come in and build smaller homes in some of those smaller lots to revitalize neighborhoods, but also have a place for someone to go. I think that was huge. So we just got to continue to do the work that we've been doing. continue to find those resources that we can put back into those types of programs. Tiny homes, the city is kind of rezoned a couple spots for some tiny homes where people getting off the streets have a transition to get into home ownership on a later date. But the job's never done. I mean, this is always going to be something. It's like with homelessness. It's never done. The job's never completed. So we've got to continue to look for those ways and find the resources to get the funding to do that. But I think that we've done a pretty good job with some of the fundings we got from ARPA. Now we've got to look beyond that. And what can we do to continue to revitalize and make housing affordable for our citizens?
Thank you, Mr. Dietar. Natasha Klug-Michael.
Thank you. Once elected, I'm very excited to work with Mr. Moran with some of that grant writing skills that he has. That way we can make sure that we get more money coming into the city for things like this. With the previous programs, we were able to take down 20 homes, repair them, and then 7 to 8 are now in the works to be built as well. As a commissioner on the planning and zoning, I voted yes on both of those tiny home projects. I'm very excited to see those come to light. So another thing that I was a little bit sad that didn't pass at our most recent meeting was a text amendment to allow a duplex to be built on a smaller lot, not width but depth. That did not pass. It's going to City Council, and so I did not agree that the builder's price point was affordable housing, even though I voted yes on that, because I do believe that if we were to change in text to allow for some duplexes or some housing to be built, that we would be able to lower the cost of that housing, and then we would be able to implement more affordable housing. But the way to continue the good work that has been done is to make sure that we are reaching out to all of our resources, getting as many grants available, and putting any amount of money that we can into making sure that we are repairing the old homes, bulldozing the dilapidated homes, and then making sure that we do rebuild on those lots. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Natasha. Brian Cowles.
Yes, but partnerships. The city can't do it alone, so the JHAP program, the CDBG, things like that is what's going to make a difference. So these are wonderful things that the city is doing. We incentivize businesses, academy, things like that, to come and open up shop on the biggest billboard and advertising strip in the area on Rangeline Road. I'm not against them completely, but is there a way that we can provide tax incentives for investors or builders to come in and build these houses at a lower cost, so that isn't transferred to the people that actually are going to be paying and living in those homes? We need low barrier permitting and zoning. As Natasha said, the depth or the width, what is really holding that up, because that is a multifamily unit that could be put in there. Now, is it going to be affordable? We don't know that. But there are vacant lots all over the city. You take a Sunday drive, there's lots everywhere, and I have found that some of those lots are empty because it's going to cost upwards of $150,000 to $200,000 just to run services there to be able to build a house. So maybe the city should explore some of those opportunities instead of selling them to individuals for a couple $1,000s. There's a possibility maybe the city can invest into those lots, or the owners who own them invest into that also. Affordable housing is an issue, but I think if we start with our youth and our higher education and all the businesses and hospitals that we have, if we can keep them here, right, so they don't feel like they have to leave to be successful, that's one of the most important things that we could do to start addressing this.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Jamie Hammond.
So as a social worker, I understand the affordable housing crisis. People come to me every day and they say, where do I go? And in the town I work in, really, you got housing authority, that's it. So Joplin has more than the town I work for. So we need to support on all fronts, If we need to annex in something to build, we should do that. If we need to help people fix their homes so we can turn around and have better homes for people to live in, we need to do that. If we need to work with people and make it a little bit easier for them to build affordable housing, then we need to do that. I mean, I don't think that Joplin is doing a bad job or anything on that. Like, I consistently see them, like rezone and annex things for housing all the time. I don't know if it's all affordable. That is not my area of expertise. I do understand the crisis, but for me, it would just be supporting anyone within the city who has innovative ideas. We have brilliant people in the city who probably have solutions. We just need to find them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. So we have time for one more question, but this one you'll have to be limited to 1 minute if we want to get everybody to get to answer it, all right? So this one deals with public safety. Now, an issue on the ballot we know would extend a sales tax to fund more police officers, more firefighters, improve pay, even allow for some equipment purchases. At a chamber forum recently, the majority of you showed support and encouraged passage. If voters said no, what would you do to find funding to improve public safety? And we begin this time with Matthew Woolsey.
This is a very complicated issue, especially for somebody as young as me. But I want to say I'm nervous about this funding because there are some departments, fire and EMS, who do need more funding. Absolutely, they need it. The police, I'm still on the fence about. I don't know if they need more funding or if more funding is just going to go towards more equipment that doesn't solve the issues we see at home. But fire, criminally underpaid. EMS, I would assume the same. So while I want to see these people paid more, I find it hard to be forced to fund or increase funding for all three, while a majority of it will go to this place I don't know if it needs. So we'd have to look into it to see what the solution would be. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Rob O'Brien.
Well, it puts us as a city in a difficult position. And I think, the reality is, and on the broader perspective, and we touched on this, the city's had nearly $100 million in grant funds over the last few years. Going into next year and afterwards, we're really back to our real budget. And so the budgets are going to be tight to start off with. But coming back to those specific departments, I think the council is going to be in a position to ask them to make some hard choices. I mean, right now, the fire department is not doing as many inspections of commercial buildings because they don't have the staff. On some shifts, they're running a lot of overtime hours, which is burning out officers or firefighters in that. And that they're going to have to look and see what else can we dig deeper on, what else on the police department, what kind of services need to be reined in. A lot of other communities have had to do it. We can look outside and see what they've done, but we're going to have to find ways on that side to cut costs, and on the other side to find additional revenue, which means it's probably going to come out of other places in the city budget.
Thank you, Rob. Eli Moran.
Yeah, so this is an incredibly important topic to me because I have a young family, and without having a strong public safety base that impacts economic development, that impacts our school systems, and that impacts our ability to be a high-performing city in all aspects. If you do not have a strong public safety force, you cannot improve the amenities or qualities of life because nobody will utilize the Momentum Bike Park if they do not feel safe. Nobody will use the 13 parks that we have across the city. So without our public safety officials, it is incredibly detrimental, and I dare say we will regress as a city without them. To kind of piggyback off Rob's point here, it will come down to very difficult decisions on how we prioritize the budget and what funding, and that is going to be an incredibly difficult conversation for all of us to have of who gets funds and who doesn't, and what does that impact us 5, 10, 15 years from now. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. Josh Detar.
I'm going to be a little bit more positive about this, Lisa. I believe that the citizens will pass it. It's too important. If for some reason it doesn't, and we've talked in the meetings with the police and fire and the dispatchers, it'd be time to regroup and maybe go find the same ask in a different way. But it's too important. If it doesn't pass, and we're like Mr. Moran was saying, we're going to have to cut resources. We're going to have to cut programs. It comes down to that. It's not just like saying, okay, we've got this bucket of money that we can go and move it over here and use it. You're going to have to cut public works departments. You're going to have to cut different vital areas that this city needs to survive on a day-to-day basis outside of public safety. So I believe that the police and fire unions are doing everything they can, and I believe that the public will support them. So I'm going to be positive on it.
Thank you, Josh. Natasha Clue-Michael.
I would like to be positive as well. I was naive on what this would entail, so I went to do a ride-along with Fire Station 1. I made sure that I spent 7 hours there getting to know the first responders and asking them questions, and the number one answer for me is that they want to go home. The amount of overtime that I find that the public servants are serving is depressing. And back to quality of life. How are we supposed to have quality of life when our public servants don't have quality of life? So if this were not to pass, we would have to look at alternate funding. My personal opinion is I would take the money for the FLOC program and put that back into the public servants' money instead of funding FLOC. Thank you.
Brian Cowles.
I'm pretty confident also in the citizens of Joplin voting yes on Proposition B. They know how important our police and fire department dispatch are. By not voting yes on Proposition B, our infrastructure, our equipment is just going to continue to have wear and tear on them, and it's going to put us in a situation 5-10 years, maybe even sooner, that we have to make one of those tough decisions that everyone is talking about. And those tough decisions, let's just call it what it is, right? If Prop B is a renewal, right, that we've been paying, but if we let things get worse than they are now, we're going to hemorrhage officers, we're going to hemorrhage fire department personnel, and we're going to have to figure out a way to come up with the money, and by cutting other departments just makes no sense. That the only remedy to that is a sales tax. So the renewal on Prop B is the way to go.
Thank you. Jamie Hammond.
So, you know, I watch social media a lot, and I'm not really seeing a lot of pushback. I think everyone's like pretty supportive of this. I think the only pushback I really saw with the citizens were they kind of wanted to make sure that the majority of this funding was going to go to salary. They would like to see them paid. So I reached out and I asked I asked Adam Grimes, I asked him, is there any way that we can assure that these funds stay salary? So I would like to see this pass and then further like cement that this is for salary. This is for retirement. This is so that they are paid because they work for the city. So, you know, they have to be paid and they have to be able to, you know, stay here. So I would like to see it pass and make sure that we make sure that it stays what it is.
Thank you, Jamie. Mary Price.
It's a yes, and I'm hoping and praying that it's a yes from all citizens. But sadly, if it isn't passed, we're going to see more loss of police and firemen. And if it was to happen, I think we would have to put a hiring and we would have to put a salary freeze on all city employees. And we would have to look at every budget within the city and we would have to start making cuts across the board because public safety is something a city cannot live without. So it's a yes on the public safety for me, 110%, and I hope it is with every other citizen. Thank you.
All right. We have reached the end of our forum. I would like to thank all the candidates for participating and sharing their opinions and experiences. Thanks to our audience here at City Hall. We encourage everyone to get out and vote April 7th. The polls are open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. This forum will be rebroadcast again tomorrow night. Wednesday and Sunday on the Missouri Southern Campus TV station KGCS TV and posted on the KGCS YouTube page. We want to thank you for joining us here at City Hall and at home. Thank you for watching and have a good night.